music together, and we were just rehearsing every day. Every day after orchestra, we would have lunch, and then we would have a 2 or 3 hour rehearsal every day for a whole year. And in that year, it was just for fun. We would eat so much music that at the end of the year, we had 7 complete programs together. I mean, 7 different 1 hour uh, concert programs. And then at some point, an agent from the US heard us and invited us to the first tour. And then it just made bing, 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 bing. And we started touring, touring, touring. And I actually left the orchestra in order to spend more time with the quintet. And now 16 years later, we played probably like 1,500 or 600 concerts in 5 continents. And why I tell you that is that was never the plan, you know. And this is, I think, this is actually maybe the story a little bit here. Plans are nice, but they might change. They might change. It might you might meet people that open a door for you that you didn't even know that door exists, and suddenly, wow, you have a complete new idea. You might play a gig somewhere in little bunny town. You play third trumpet, and then suddenly the viola player in front of you turns around and is like, that sounds very nice. Who are you? And they're like, well, it's me. Like, well, I'm an agent for events. Da da da. Give me your ad, you know. And then that person invites you to something bigger, and then something else comes out, and here and there, and you might get a teaching job from one of those contacts. You might uh, become the first call for a great orchestra. You might meet people you like to do a chamber project with, and all these things are not really predictable. And in my case, I can tell you, for about 20 years, I had an orchestra career and orchestra teachers, and all my focus was orchestra, orchestra, orchestra. And when I moved to Mexico, I got into a complete different environment, and then suddenly other things became very attractive that I never thought about before. So, and yeah, and after 15 years, I had a look at my curriculum one day and said like, oh man, look, we taught about 600 master classes. Wow. I mean, if I teach so many master classes in the US, I could also teach at a university in the US. I never thought about that. And I applied for the job here at Georgia State and got the job. And so, long story short, there is for anything, for any adventure in music, there's always one first step. You can't suck at this. You cannot suck at this. If you're a music major, if you're a composition major, if you're a performance major, or if we have music tech here in Georgia State. The music tech people, they only get 4 semesters of applied trumpet, and they usually stop caring starting the first semester because they know it's just a requirement. And I always tell them, look, if you suck at being a musician, you will suck at teaching music, and you will suck at producing music. You will just suck because you don't have your own experience of what quality is. And for instance, in my studio, and I'm pretty sure, Scott, we're on the same page here, I treat everybody the same. I'm aware that the music ed major might have less time to practice, sometimes very much less time, I know that, but the quality expectation should be absolutely the same. Actually, you guys should even be better, because as a band, are you all music ed majors? No? Your performance, Kyla, your performance, Paul?
I'm an education major.
No, your performance too?
Ed.
Your music ed, okay? And Sam?
Music ed.
Huh?
Music ed.
I didn't hear that.
He said he was music ed.
Oh, music ed. Okay, yeah. Well, that's a perfect talk then. So I think the goal for music ed major is most likely being a band director. Is that right? For most, right? For most, it's the case. So how many band directors do you know that are not good musicians at their own instrument? I think we all know them. They're out there. And the ones that impacted your life, they were undoubtedly very, very good musicians themselves. So it's very, very important. It's very important to have everything that we deal with in life has to be an experience. As long as it's just a theory, It's a theory. Everybody can have a theater, and the theory becomes a belief, and you can believe anything. But if it's your own, if it's your own experience, if you know how overtones ring, like in your left hand when you hold the horn, and you hear that in your left hand, you can hear it in your left hand. You can hear it on, or when you play Carmen, the Carmen prelude, and you hear the seduction, and you hear the sexiness, and you hear the betrayal, and you have the goosebumps from your own playing. That is something that nobody can take away from you, and it's easy to teach that. It, it's very easy to teach that when you have that experience, and it's very difficult to teach that when you just read about it. That's the long story short. Took just half an hour. Yeah, so I ended up in Atlanta 2.5 years ago, and Scott and me, we met twice at the trumpet festival in the Southeast, which this year we had to completely send to 2022, which was a good thing. I tried at the beginning to get it to April, but it would have been a disaster because April is as well. Nothing would happen this year. So we hope that next year in January we're gonna have a nice festival in Atlanta. And yeah, what do you guys want to talk about? I think the easiest is you ask questions. What do you want me to talk about? Or Kyla, if you want to play, just go ahead. We can talk about the trumpet stuff while you're playing. What do you think is the best thing to do? It's your show.
I mean, this isn't necessarily a music question, but I am curious about what kind of trumpet you play.
Oh, this is a Gunch horn. Gunch horn is if you see, this is a rotary trumpet. So it would be, if it would be a normal rotary trumpet, it would look like this. But as the valves go this way, you see, that main tube had to go below the valves because it can't be at the same place where the valves is, which is also a design. It's a rotary trumpet with a very funky look. It's from the guys from Nordsel Brass. I don't know if you have heard about this group. Yeah, I grew up with rotary instruments, and it's a nice thing to fake that you play a piston trumpet. Okay. Yeah. So, any questions? Anything you have a specific interest in?
How has your musical experience like differed between like being in Germany and being in Mexico and then coming to the US and performing in all of those different places and in the different ways that you perform?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I think the cultures are very different to start with. Um, Look, Germany is a country. If you talk about music or we talk about classical music, there, well, there is one orchestra that is 480 years old. That says everything, doesn't it? Just that. Or I'll just give you some ideas, and it's really in no moment judging, because I learned that in Mexico, you can't judge Latin Americans for Brahms not being part of their culture, because it's not. Brahms is a piece of culture from Germany, from Austria, from Europe. And if Mexican orchestras play Brahms, it's because they're cherishing somebody else's culture. So, and there can't be maybe there can, but I don't think there can be the full depth of understanding and emotional feeling of something which isn't yours. Does it make sense? So that approach is already different. For instance, if you listen to the Montreal Symphony Orchestra recordings from the 70s, 80s with that French repertoire, it just kicks ass. So why? Because it's somehow in the blood, right? Because there's a francophone orchestra that it's also a language thing. If you speak a language, the German vowels are long, long. The Italian vowels are open. Oh, oh. German is oh, oh. That affects how you sound, because it affects where your tongue position is. It's like with the singers. So, and for instance, Yeah, it's no wonder that in the United States it's the biggest number of commercial trumpet players because that music comes from here. You know, I mean, there are things that you have to understand, and that takes you away from judging. In Germany, for instance, when in the year 2000, Bach um, was 250 years old. No, wait a second. His death 250 years ago was Bach's death. There was a celebration, 24 hours Bach in Leipzig, the city where he was organist for almost all his life. 24 hours Bach, a concert, and there were 1 million people for 24 hours on the street listening to Bach. You couldn't even imagine that in a different country. People would go, and after an hour they go home, right? And there's a video about it. You can look in YouTube, swinging Bach with Bobby McFerrin, and I mean, there was everybody with name, and 24 hours, and it was raining cats and dogs. And people would stand there and listen. And if the bricklayers in my birth town had a relationship with Bach because Bach's birth town was 1.5 hours away. You know, that is a piece of culture which is very unique. In Mexico, I was very blown away by the passion. There's the Latinos have in their culture they have a certain kind of expression which is very passionate. So if somebody, we say in Spanish, te molestas, like you bother to go to a college to study. Let's say that is already a decision. It's like, okay, it's involving work. If you bother to do that, you'd rather do it well. So if you bother to run around the lake, well, you have the choice. You can just trot or you can cruise. Just cruise. Why don't you just do the best you can? So, and they're really, really passionate about everything. And here in the US, I have encountered there is a large amount of students that take a lot of time of their undergrad to figure out what the hell they actually want. Because somebody pays their study fees and it's better to not do anything. So I rather go, I don't say that's you guys, but I have encountered too many of them. So, and that is, it's good you asked that question. And it's very, very important because actually what we guys do, it's not a job. Of course, it has to become a job in a way if you want to make money, if you want to pay rent a house, fill your fridge. But the origin is not a job. The origin has to be something that's based on passion because that's what music is about. And I think this is also, and Scott, chime in at any time. I believe it's also a problem of the educational system because the educational system actually has the focus on the business part of you need to get a job, you need to get a job, you need to get a job, you need to get a job in order to get a job. You like check, check, check. I did this course, I did this course. So, but the origin of being a musician is becoming incredibly passionate about such a simple thing like producing one sound and making that sound so special that everybody who's around just stops what they do and like, who was that? And that's what we call magic. I just say what I think, what I believe. So, and trumpet players have that tendency to um, count wrong notes when other people play. But you know what? Who cares? Because if you're not a trumpet player, first, you might not even notice that there was a wrong note. If you don't know the piece, you don't know that there was a wrong note. But you especially might not even care that there was a wrong note. Because if there's magic, who cares? Who cares if there was a mistake? Because magic is more important. If there is no magic, then it becomes about wrong notes. If you just play notes and there is nothing of you in that, well, then you're like, okay, well, how was it? Didn't miss. That's the worst that somebody could say, you know. So never make it about perfection. Make it always about passion and flow. I always say music for myself. Music is sound and flow. If you make a marriage of sound and flow, everything will be right. Of course, if you play an audition let's look at the technical part. So I can see this here, like I see myself in the screen. Everything on that side of my nose, let's say that's the technical part. That's one pillar. If you're playing out of tune, not so good. Can't win an audition like that. Can't probably even move somebody's emotions. You know, you all. I think we all have heard that somebody who plays really beautiful, but it's always flat, and then you're like, you look like this listening to it, like. In Germany, we have that saying, it's better to play sharp than out of tune. No, never play flat. That's you know, like, um, ah, it, if you're flat, it's mainly because you're missing overtones, and because the air is too lazy. The air is just. So, and you can. I like that, the idea of a face expression, how it reflects in the sound. How does a sound if you have wrinkles? You know, the warrior wrinkles. Those. It sounds cautious because your attitude and your energy is cautious. So, or when we talk about what is that? How many cents sharp has the fifth to be, or how many cents flat has the third to be? So, I'm sorry, guys, and I don't want to get too close to anybody. If you do that, if you learned that, completely cool. But for me, if a conductor comes with a tuner, I'm out. Because the fifth is not so and so many cents sharp. The fifth is what you hear. It has to have a little smile in it. You hear that? There are wrinkles. Now, put a little smile on those wrinkles. And what that does, it changes the color of your sound. And that changes the pitch. And that is, for my understanding, that is a much more natural approach to music than the technical part of how many cents. So everything is color and sound. If you have bad rhythm, not so good. So bad pitch, bad rhythm, not so good. Doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can't have bad rhythm, especially as a trumpet player in the band, because if you play wrong rhythm, everybody plays wrong rhythm. So if you have seen these, the second chapter in Arban, these 4 chapters of rhythms, what is like the syncopations, dotted 8th notes, 16th and 8th note, and 6/8. So your rhythm, you have to develop an inner rhythm, which is just precise. And here's the trick. You can play precise and perfect and bulletproof, and it can still be dead. That's the trap. It has to flow. So how do you make something flow? That's the musical flow, right? If you would play it like almost like slurred everything. And then you add that to each note. The note has the same length, but now it gets a little fingernail articulation, or how do you call it? I lost the word. Definition. That's the word. The definition of the note now has a little at the end, at the beginning. Aha, now it's really clear. And if you play that fast, guess what? It's short. But you never play short on purpose, because when you play short, what happens to the note? the sound disappears. Da doesn't have sound, but if you play da, all that, there's sound. Okay, so you need good pitch, you need good rhythm. What else do you need? We talked about it. Actually, was the first thing we talked about. You need sound. If you have no sound, no pitch, and no rhythm, it's wonderful that you're a great musician, but you're not. You know? So this is the technical part. You can't drive a car without wheels. It just doesn't, without tires. Wheels, it's the same, wheels, tires. It doesn't go anywhere. You can't drive a car without gas, right? The car could be oxidated and terrible, shitty design, but you need tires and gas. You need great sound. If you have a great sound, you will most likely have a great pitch. It's very important. Sound makes pitch. Because if you don't have overtones, you will not be able to play with somebody else because your sound can't. That's the overtone. That's the sound, and this is there are 12 overtones. Wait a second, like this. I only have 10 fingers, but there are two more. So 12 overtones. If your sound has those 12 and the other sound has those 12, guess what they do? That's what we call being in tune. And you can be in tune if this here is way far out, or you can be in tune if it's all in, because you hear it and because your sound is moldable. But if your sound is, like this, it's deaf. Then you don't have 12 overtones. You might have only 5 or maybe 2 or 3 or so. So there is not much to marry with another sound. And that is when you're out of tune. So the very, very big importance and priority for everything is work on your tone production, work on the idea how you want to sound. And that comes through listening to people, listen to other people, listen to recordings, listen to live music, which right now kind of really sucks. But that's the thing. And then develop a good rhythm. That is no rocket science. Just put your metronome on and make sure that everything is, it's just a habit to play good rhythm. And good pitch is also a question of sound quality and listening. Yeah, so, and if you have developed those, of course you need endurance, you need register, but all these things, they come when you do the right things. Then make everything about music. When you play a scale, that was just a scale, but there was no music. In the moment you give direction to the scale, and it is always direction and relax. Direction and relax. And when you give direction, you have this bzzz, da 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 zzz, and it relaxes. Hey Jacob. Jacob's in the circus. So yeah, but Kyla, I would like to listen to you if you want to play.
I'm gonna play a couple of notes muted first because it's very cold now.
Yeah, if you want to play some notes, that's cool.
I want to just circle back to that concept that you were talking about with, the view in this country that education is about getting a job. And that is so true. And it's something that we fight in the arts so much, and especially in higher ed, there's this idea that you go to college to get a degree so you can get a job, right? But that's like not what education is about. Education is about learning and growing, and it's about personal growth, and it's about learning new things. It's not about getting a job, and that's a really tough one to battle. And I think that is so ingrained in our culture that you go to college to get a job, and it is true. You get a credential, and that credential can open the door for a job, absolutely. But when we're in the classroom and you're in the heat of battle, it's about learning. And this specter of a job and this credential is, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but you hit the nail on the head on that for me.
Well, I think this is a very interesting conversation to have, also with some of our colleagues. And I know there are many people who care about that subject, Because look, look, it's good that we have this conversation in front of you, because I mean, if you want to go into education, you will be confronted with that. So, and I think one should never be tired of trying to put that drop on the hot stone. You know, put you put that drop on the hot stone, goes away, because the system is huge. But I think each person has much more impact to to their surrounding than we think. So, and if we can make, like, as professors, or trumpet professors, if we can make students understand that it's not just about getting a job, but it's about learning how to be passionate and how to kindle that passion again and again. Look, I have to kindle my passion again. Last year, I had like 4 months I didn't play the trumpet. Why? Because it just felt natural not to play the trumpet, because nothing, I had nothing coming on. There was no concert. There was everything canceled. We had this big Europe tour with our quintet. I mean, big, like 1.5 months tour canceled. So how you feel about that? Said, I just don't want to see the trumpet. Away, go away. And then you rekindle your passion. You inspire yourself. Why? Because that's what we do. That's why you watch online master classes. That's why you look, if somebody records a video. That's why you meet people when you can meet them. And yeah, I mean, Scott, I mean, I think it would be wonderful if you could continue that talk, maybe with some colleagues, because I think everybody is in that dilemma.
Great. All right. Well, we should get to some playing here. Are you ready, Kyle?
Yes, Carla.
So I'm gonna play pictures.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. So, how do you feel?
Um, I'm a little tired, so it sounds a little. It's not the sound that I would want out of it.
Okay, I can't tell that, so you're lucky because Zoom doesn't tell me.
Excellent.
It sounds good. It sounds good here.
Thank you.
Here's a question. So I trust you. You can probably play that 10 times, or 5 times, or whatever, and every day. So imagine yourself in a situation of stress. How would that be for you? What would be different?
Um, I play with a lot of tension, honestly, on a normal basis, and so it gets really bad. I tend to use a lot of pressure when I play with tension, and so it cuts off a lot of the sound.
If you have tension, uh, which part of your body manifests that tension?
My shoulders, usually.
Okay. So can you recreate that tension? Can you play that again and kind of fake how your body feels when you're stressed, and try to cope with that when you're playing?
Play through the whole thing?
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was very well done. It's not that easy. It's not that easy. So here's the question, and why I do this. It's great if we can play it at home, right? But we have to be able to reproduce it under probably not so comfortable circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
That is like what we talked about before, that uh, getting a job might depend on that. Actually, it does depend on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but not only that, you know what's the worst thing? Being happy as a musician depends on that. Because if you only can play well at home and never on stage, you lose your happiness as a musician very soon. So your shoulders affect your breathing, right? And if this goes to your brain, it's like, oh my God, I'm tense. What then happens then? You get dry, you stop breathing, you stop blowing, da da da. So you have to practice abundance of all the good things that make you sound great. That when you get tense and you lose these 30%, you're still fine. What is abundance? Abundance in sound and abundance in flow. Can you play this all slurred? And we don't talk about dynamics, just play free. Like a big sigh. Oh. All slurred. Just the beginning. Okay, so now I don't know if you know that little gimmick. Mouthpiece, 1 millimeter in the lead pipe. You know that, Scott? Some people they cut a little stripe of a room card from a hotel or something, put it in between the lead pipe and the mouthpiece so it's got stuck. We can hold it with the finger, just 1 millimeter, and you use the fingers. Try that. Really piano, all slurred piano. No, it really brings everything right in the space because you still play mouthpiece. The overtones don't click in yet unless you play them. No, can you sing it?
Maybe not completely right pitches, but
Oh, you can. I'm sure you can. With the fingers.
da da dee, da.
Yadi.
Oh gosh. Da dee, da, 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 da.
Okay, so never underestimate your singing skills. You're not an opera singer, but you can fake to be one. It's high even for my falsetto, but I could do ya di da da di di da di 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 da da. Give me some confidence in your singing.
Da, ooh, doo, da, da,
No,
da.
that's half a note high. Okay, and now blow the air on two. Like you would blow air with a violin. Yeah, and these are all tools that are not new to you, I'm pretty sure. Singing is not new. Mouthpiece playing, if it's with this or just the mouthpiece or with a burp or whatever, is not new to you. Blowing the air is not new. So now you just play it and you think about you're sitting in a hammock on a Caribbean beach with a pina colada and you have your feet like this. How do you feel? Oh. That's when you play B flat trumpet and think and see. Can you give me that attitude Just really, it feels so good.
All right.
And you can be affirmative about it. It's just an imagination.
Do the whole thing again, or
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then in spite of that, you might be tired. I can hear it. Where's the technical risk of this extract? It's the two octave jumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So nobody wants to screw that A flat, A flat,
Mm-hmm.
or B flat, B flat. You play it on a B flat.
Yeah.
So make sure that this octave is not worth a thought anymore. Why? Because you have really figured out how it goes. What's the difference between A flat and A flat? It's just the speed of the air.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference. If you have the right setup and you're not too open, if you're really focused here, you just speed the air up and then you have the other one. Can you do that? You play the A flat major scale, you play, and then you lock your body and your whole energy, you lock it in at that high A flat. And with that setup, you play the low A flat, and then again the high, and then the low, and again the high. Ya di da di da di da di ya. It's like this. Let me see if you can see that. Oh, sorry. So you stay up there. You don't go up, down, and up and down. It's like a little mountain climber who just has that one hand on the highest rock all the time.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, and actually, when you have that, when you figure out how fast is your air, how does it feel, where's the compression, where's your tongue position, where's all that, it's not an intellectual thing. It's because you do your habit training every day. So you know that actually when you go up, you don't push. It's not. And then it becomes a musical line. Nobody wants da 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 dee da dee. So imagine this is there before it actually comes. But what you need in general, you need abundance. You need abundance of flow, abundance of well-being. And imagine you play this 50 times over 2 months or 1 month, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And each of those 50 times is about abundance. Which message goes to your subconscious? Abundance. And when you have abundance, you go to your audition, you can easily be nervous and there's still abundance. That's a little bit a concept of, you played that really hard piece, Scott, in January last year.
Oh yeah, the cantus, yeah.
Yeah, so how many times did you make sure for yourself that you really have it until you put that on stage?
Let's see, that was actually the first performance for me.
You see.
Yeah.
But
I rehearsed it a bunch. I practiced it a lot, but that was the first live performance, and then I did it for my faculty recital, like the next week.
Yeah. So there's a process with something, and I think that process goes way beyond on just having the technical tools. There's a psychological part is you really need to own the piece, and owning a piece for me means abundance. Abundance is you have so much of comfort and of flow and of tone that you can just relax. You don't need to use 100%. You can just, and actually, for instance, like Leonora. I don't need fortissimo. If my sound has overtones, I just play forte and it sounds bzzz. But if I don't have overtones, I need to push, and then I'm exaggerating. If you can give just 80% of what you need, it will always sound noble and elegant in a certain way. Does it make sense?
Mm.
You want to play something else?
I would love for her to play something else, but we probably are just about out of time.
I guess. Well, guys, I'm very sorry again that this went wrong 2 weeks ago, but anytime we can repeat that, and I mean, it would be lovely to stay in touch. And Scott, I have you in March, right?
I think so. And if yeah, I put on my count. I'm like one day at a time right
I
now,
know,
so it's on my
and then you look
calendar. So
in your agenda like, oh, I teach a masterclass tonight.
yeah, pretty much. It's like, what do I have tomorrow? Okay, great, and then it's on to the
Yeah,
next
I
thing.
know.
So,
Yeah, somebody else like
but I'm
some
looking forward to it
question or
though.
so. You can feel free if some question comes up. You just fetch me I give you my email down here in the chat. You can send me an email. It's pretty simple. It's my name, GSU EDU. Like all these university emails are kind of same pattern. First name, last name,
Hmm.
first letter, whatever. Yeah, and look, make your degree about becoming as passionate as you can about music, and if that is the case, then the job will come. I believe. I really believe in that. It might look different nowadays than it looked 5 years ago, and less people might study music, and that's okay because things change, But the ones that do should. I always say to my students in 2021, nobody cares about a trumpet player who plays the right notes. Nobody should. There has to be magic. There has to be magic.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Alex. We really enjoyed everything that you had to say, and hopefully our students got something out of that. And thank you for working with Kyla. And I guess we will wrap it up there. So,
Cool. You guys take very much care.
yep.
Be healthy and be happy. That is more worth than anything else in these days, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Bye,
Okay.
everybody.
Ciao, ciao.